Recently, severe flooding occurred in Hunan, Northeast China, and other places. Many villages, such as Longxi in Zixing City, Chenzhou, Hunan, which are severely affected, have not received rescue. It is reported that the survivors in Zixing have no food to survive. The Chenzhou municipal government reported 3 days ago that the heavy rainfall since July 26 has caused extremely serious damage to Zixing. Local victims revealed that many villages such as Longxi and Lanping have no water, electricity, or roads, and have not received rescue. Many people have been washed away by floods or buried by mudslides. The situation is dire. What's worse is that some survivors have starved to death because they have nothing to eat. Mr. Chen, a disaster victim in Zixing, said, "The damage inside is huge. There are still some places without signal. The missing people are still being searched for. It's a bad time. Today, I found a family of 6 missing. Everything was washed away. There was no food. Too many people starved to death. A friend's aunt was washed away by the water, and his uncle died of starvation after several days without anything to eat. Everything was swept away. An old man in Longxi starved to death after starving for a few days. His own children couldn't even walk in. When he rushed over, they were gone. It was too tragic. I can't talk about it." Aerial video shows that the disaster area is riddled with holes, countless landslides, and roads are blocked. According to official reports, 1,345 roads collapsed. Landslides and mudslides poured down, destroying many houses. On the 3rd, a netizen posted a video in the morning hall to mourn. "My cousin's family of 7 was buried in mudslides for 7 days and then dug out." In addition, affected by heavy rains, Xi'an province has been releasing floodwaters for several days, causing the water level of many rivers to rise, and the rural areas along the river have been severely affected. Ms. Wang, a citizen of Xi'an, said, "The main reservoirs in our province, 68 reservoirs, staggered flood discharge. Songhua Lake, Hongxi Power Station, and Baishi Power Station upstream of Fangmen all discharged water to Fangmen. The reservoirs discharged water. The Songhua River rose. The flood peak reached Songyuan, and everyone was affected. It's very difficult now. There is a sister in Wukong, Hailongjiang, and her family's 27-hour rice was all soaked." Affected by the flood discharge from Jilin province's reservoirs, floods occurred in Mudanjiang City, Wukong City, and other places downstream, and the houses and farmland along the river have been soaked for many days. Mr. Han, a citizen of Mudanjiang, said, "Now I am afraid of flood discharge. The riverside is flooded, the docks, bridges, everything is flooded. The greenhouses are soaked. Vegetables, eggplants, watermelons, tomatoes, everything, they're definitely dead. Look at this corn, it's dead. It's been soaked here for 4 or 5 days. The bungalow has been flooded and is soaked in water. Now it smells really bad." The rural areas of Baju, Anhui province were also hit by floods a few days ago. Large areas of farmland were affected and the harvest was lost. Farmers complained bitterly. Ms. Zhang, a farmer in Baju, Anhui province, said, "It rained and it was flooded here. The water went down and it was all muddy. The land I contracted, the corn of hundreds of acres is gone. I have suffered a great loss and I want to cry." Ms. Ji, a farmer in Baju, Anhui province, said, "The corn I planted was drowned. We have hundreds of acres of land. The loss is very large, hundreds of thousands of yuan." The CCP's local governments are running out of money. 100,000 government employees in Shandong will be converted into contract workers. Recently, 10 departments, including the Shandong Provincial Department of Human Resources and Social Security and the Office of the Provincial Party Committee Organization and Establishment Committee, jointly issued a notice that the staff of the provincial public institutions will be converted into contract employees of state-owned enterprises or private enterprises. This move involves 100,000 people and has a huge impact. Many people believe that this is caused by the government's lack of money. The relevant authorities in Shandong jointly issued a notice on the opinions on the handling of issues related to the transformation of provincial public institutions into enterprises. When public institutions are transformed into enterprises, they must formally write to terminate the personnel relationship with the staff within the establishment and cancel the real name information of the organization establishment of relevant personnel within the prescribed period. Xi'an media reported that some provincial public institutions were transformed into state-owned enterprises, non-state-owned enterprises, and joint stock enterprises. The above notice clarifies the conversion of personnel and labor relations of the staff of the transformed units, as well as the handling opinions on the transformation of public institutions into private enterprises. Shandong is China's first agricultural province. As of 2022, Shandong's agricultural product exports have led the country for 22 consecutive years. According to data from the Shandong Provincial Bureau of Statistics, the province's GDP in 2023 will reach 9,206.87 billion yuan, an increase of 6.0% over the previous year. Despite this, administrative expenses still need to be reduced. The notice jointly issued by the relevant authorities in Shandong categorizes the economic compensation standards for the staff members who choose not to join the converted units. Among them, the staff members who choose not to join the converted units when the institutions are converted into state-owned enterprises must submit a resignation application and be approved according to the Personnel Management Authority. The personnel who are approved to resign will be given economic compensation by the converted units. In other words, the conversion of institutions is divided into two parts. One part is converted into state-owned enterprises, and the other part is converted into private enterprises. In fact, many places in China began to clean up the non-staff personnel of government agencies and institutions on a large scale last year, which aroused widespread social attention. China News Weekly reported that in March last year, the Office of the Organization and Establishment Committee of Harbin City, Heilongjiang Province, announced that the municipal government agencies and institutions carried out the cleanup and standardization of non-staff employment. The implementation targets of this special rectification action are existing employees, full-time industry personnel, workers, and self-employed personnel of Harbin municipal agencies and municipal institutions. Radio Free Asia reported that regarding the Shandong government's conversion of permanent staff to contract employees, Tang Yan, a retired professor at Chongqing Normal University, said in an interview on August 5, "One reason may be that the government's finances are already overwhelmed because the current economic situation and the entire system, as well as the bloated financial pressure caused by the entire system, are very high, and they must consider this. They have been talking about streamlining institutions and laying off employees for a long time, and now they have to implement such measures." Tang Yan said, "They first put those less important departments such as hotels, guest houses, or research institutions, etc., which used to be self-financing but originally had government financial support, funding, but now the financial support cannot be provided, so let them face the market independently and abandon them." Du Wen, a former legal advisor to the Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region government who once served in the Chinese government system, said in an interview that the current round of reform of public institutions to enterprises in Shandong province involves 79 units, accounting for about 1/10 of the total number, and most of them are self-supporting public institutions. Du Wen summarized the list of these 79 transformed units, which are roughly divided into 4 categories. First, various provincial state-owned hotels, restaurants, guest houses, and exhibition venues, including the affiliated guest houses of the Beijing and Shanghai offices and the staff homes of the Provincial Federation of Trade Unions, which account for the largest proportion. And second, various provincial research institutions, that is, various types of less important research institutes and research institutes, which account for the second largest proportion. Third, provincial complete equipment bureaus. In Jinan, Qingdao, and Yantai. Fourth, investment promotion service departments in the Beijing and Shanghai offices and several provincial information service consulting agencies. He said, the total number of public institutions in Shandong province is about 800. Since 2014, Shandong has been carrying out the enterprise transformation reform of provincial public institutions. This year's time slot is more sensitive. This reminds me of the state-owned enterprise reform in 1997, the era of crazy selling and sharing of state-owned assets, and also the extremely cruel and miserable era of large-scale layoffs and unemployment. The specific reform measures of this round are unclear. What we have seen so far is only a personnel diversion and resettlement plan, not an asset disposal plan. Du Wen believes that the asset disposal plan is more important. The leading cadres of the Communist Party of China were able to make a fortune in the process of transformation, and they took many high-quality state-owned assets for themselves at bargain prices. The most miserable are those who were laid off and abandoned. He said that this group is mostly people between 40 and 50 years old, a group that is particularly easy to be abandoned and has no way out. This reform will cause many people to lose their jobs, and many families may fall into great difficulties. Damre submerges residential area. Many cities in Guangdong submerged by floodwaters after storm.
Mainland Chinese people are facing all kinds of natural disasters. Just in early July, Dongting Lake in Hunan province had a 226 meters deep dam burst, causing water to spill out everywhere, submerging many villages and residential areas, and forcing tens of thousands of people to evacuate urgently. In eastern China, nearly 500,000 people had to evacuate when heavy rains caused the water levels of the Yangtze River and other rivers to rise to the highest levels in 50 years, resulting in serious floods. Before the water could recede, Typhoon Gimi made landfall on July 27, bringing huge amounts of rain and submerging many cities in Guangdong province. Heavy rain fell in areas of Guangdong, Guangxi, Jiangxi, Hunan, and Hubei, with extremely heavy rain in some areas of Hunan. Some netizens posted videos saying that the heavy rainstorm in Maizhou was very serious. Maizhou City, Wuhua County of Maizhou City, and streets in Ningxi City were all flooded. The floods overflowed the bridges, some homes were flooded, and many vehicles were submerged. Typhoon Gimi passed through Fujian and moved northward. On Saturday, 27th, it moved from Zhujiang City in Jiangxi Province into Guangxi City in Hubei Province. In the past 2 days, under its influence, strong winds and rainstorms have affected nearly 800,000 people in Fujian Province. From July 27th to 28th, there were strong winds of magnitude 6 to 8 and gusts of magnitude 9 in the Bohai Sea, Yellow Sea, East China Sea, Diaoyu Islands, Taiwan Strait, Yangtze River estuary area, Hangzhou Bay, and the coasts of Shandong, Jiangsu, Shanghai, Zhejiang, and Fujian. As of 8:30 on Saturday, 17 cities and counties in Guangdong Province had issued red rainstorm warnings, and 24 cities and counties had issued orange rainstorm warnings, involving Guangzhou, Huizhou, and Maizhou. The water vapor transported by Gimi over long distances has brought typhoon rain to the northeast. Xi'an, Liaoning Province, has experienced the heaviest rainfall in 73 years since the 25th. Trams were suspended across the board due to excessive water accumulation, and the city was effectively shut down for 1 day. Low-lying roads in Jinzhou City were flooded. Liaoning Province transferred 17,892 people. Heilongjiang issued early warnings for floods in small and medium rivers, geological disasters, and flash floods. Gansu in the northwest also experienced the strongest regional heavy rain since 1961, causing many casualties. Linjiang, Jilin, is in an emergency and requires residents living below the third floor to evacuate immediately. China's Jilin province continues to be hit by heavy rains, and the flood disaster continues to escalate. On July 28, Linjiang City in Jilin officially issued an emergency notice, requiring all residents living below the third floor and all residents living in bungalows to move to higher places immediately. Jilin's official WeChat public account, Linjiang released a message on the same day that on July 28, the Linjiang City Government Flood Control and Drought Relief Headquarters of Jilin Province issued a transfer notice. Due to the Yalu River water level exceeding the warning line, the situation is critical. Residents living below the third floor, residents in low-lying areas can be appropriately expanded, are requested to move to higher places or move to higher floors, and all bungalow residents should move to higher places immediately. On the 28th, the Linjiang City Government Flood Control and Drought Relief Headquarters launched the Level 1 emergency response to flood control. and ordered the entire city to implement suspension of classes, work, production, operations, and business. Earlier that day, the authorities also issued a notice asking citizens to not rush to buy supplies, stay at home unless necessary, and do not risk waiting. If you receive a transfer notice, transfer immediately. Videos posted by mainland netizens show that on the 28th, the flood in Linjing City continued to rise, and the turbid floodwater was close to the deck of a bridge. Outside the balcony protection net of a residential building, you can see the rushing floodwater getting closer and closer. Linjing officials previously announced that Linjing Vice Mayor and Public Security Bureau Director Xi'an and Auxiliary Police Officer Li Xiangshen lost contact during the flood prevention and rescue. Their whereabouts are still unknown. However, according to public information, Xi'an, as the deputy mayor, is not in charge of work such as flood prevention and rescue, but is responsible for maintaining stability for the people. On July 25, a staff member of the Linjing Public Security Bureau told the Beijing News reporter that the auxiliary police officer Li Xiangshen, who was washed away with Xi'an, was Xi'an's driver. At that time, the two were washed away with their car. After the typhoon center entered Jiangxi and Hubei in sequence, although it weakened into a tropical depression, the residual circulation still invaded Guangdong, Zhejiang, Hunan, Shanghai, Jiangsu, Anhui, Shandong, Henan, Hebei, Beijing, Liaoning, and other places, causing different levels of disaster. Online videos show that heavy rains in Maizhou, Guangdong, have caused flooding in many places in Maizhou. Streets in Maizhou City, Wuhua County, and Ning City have been flooded. In some places, the floods have overflowed bridges, homes have been inundated, and many vehicles on the streets are soaked in water. Shenzhen was also hit by violent storms. Many large trees were blown down, many cars were smashed, and the streets were flooded, leaving a mess. Yimi also brought strong winds to Shanghai. On July 27, a delivery boy was unfortunately hit by a tree that blew down and died. Flooding is also rare in Shenyang, far in the northeast, with serious water accumulation in streets and residential areas. Local netizens said it was related to the collapse of the local Hun River rubber dam and subsequent flood discharge. On July 28, heavy rainfall triggered a landslide in Lincoln, Xiyu Township, Nanyu District, Hengyang City, Hunan Province, causing houses to be washed away and burying 21 people. By 1928 that night, all 21 people were found, 15 of whom were killed and 6 injured. At 11 o'clock that night, the Midu hydropower station in Chenzhou, Hunan Province, also burst because the gate could not be opened. Some netizens posted a video saying that the elderly and children at home were all flooded. On the 28th, trains on many railways in Beijing were also suspended due to rain. The China Railway Beijing Bureau announced that some trains on the Beijing-Harbin High-Speed Railway, Tianjin-Qinhuang High-Speed Railway, as well as ordinary railway trains on the Jingyuan, Jingcheng, Jingtong, Handin-Changchun, and Hanji lines have been temporarily suspended. Although the disasters in various places were serious, Chinese Communist Party officials downplayed the news. On July 27 and 28, there was no topic related to the floods in Weibo hot searches and Baidu hot searches. Unan Landslide destroys farmhouse business, causing 18 casualties. On the morning of July 28, a landslide occurred in Nanyu District, Hengyang, Hunan. A villager's house was destroyed by mudslides. The collapsed house was a farmhouse business providing food and accommodation. It was the peak tourist season, causing 12 deaths and 6 injuries. According to a report by the paper, the official WeChat public account of Hunan Daily stated that at 8:18 on July 28, a landslide caused by mountain torrents in Unan Village, Xiyu Township, Nanyu District, Hengyang City, caused a one-story house to be washed away, burying 18 people. The official Weibo released another message at 12:56, stating that as of 12:10, 18 people had been rescued, with 12 killed and 6 injured. Ulan Village, where the incident occurred, is located on the west side of the Nanyu Hengshan Scenic Area, only a few kilometers away. Most tourists going to the Hengshan Scenic Area choose to stay in homestays near the scenic area. Currently, Baidu Map shows that the road from Ulan Village to the Nanyu Hengshan Scenic Area is closed. The person in charge of a homestay near the Nanyu Hengshan Scenic Area said that the residential building buried by the landslide was built by the villagers of their village as a farmhouse with food and accommodation. It had been in operation for more than 10 years. This time, it happened to be the weekend, and many people came to the mountain to escape the summer heat and stayed in the farmhouse. The owner of another homestay said that they have suspended business due to the landslide. A Hunan netizen on the mainland Douyin platform also said, "My parents took my children to this village for summer vacation. I just called them. Fortunately, they live on the other side. They were afraid of accidents and have returned this morning. We went to play in the collapsed house when we were escaping the summer last year. I was scared to death. It rained heavily when I climbed the mountain yesterday. I hurried back to Changsha when I got down the mountain. There are still 300 people trapped in Hengshan, Hunan.